Hello friends, it is Kelly. I'm back today with, my plan today is to make some embellishments. And before I get started, I was going to show you kind of my process of getting started to make the embellishments. Here I have my new little mini die cut machine. Isn't it so cute? I got this off of Amazon for $29.99. I don't know if you can see that, but the brand is Sunlit. I will link it in the description box below. That way you can see it for yourself and see the reviews and things. So I have been on the search for one of these, and I thought the price point was good. If I feel like if I didn't love it, I can give it to someone, or, I'm not out too much money. I mean, it's not cheap, but it wasn't too much. So I do love it. I mean, it's great. It's convenient to use. I have a Gemini, the kind you plug in and it automatically feeds it through for you. And I love it. It's a great machine. It's just so big and heavy, and trying to pull it out and put it back up, because I just don't like things like laying around all over I don't have a huge space, so I just don't want everything laying out. So I keep it on a shelf, and it's not plugged in. So I have to move it off the shelf, put it on the desk, get all the cutting plates. And I do that occasionally when I have a whole bunch of cutting to do at once. But, if I'm in the middle of a layout and I don't want to get up and go, do die cutting. And this is just a little more convenient, and it will get me to using more of my dies, I believe. I have lots of smaller dies, and hopefully this will get me to use my tools more often than what I have been. So my plan today, like I said, it was I have a very specific embellishment that I had the idea to make. So I'm going to make those for you. But once again, this is a good little machine. If you're on the hunt for a mini die cutting machine, this is pretty good, and the price point is good. The one thing I don't like about it, disclaimer, is that it has a suction thing on the bottom. And in theory, you're supposed to be able to set it down and lock it. There's a little lever here that's supposed to lock it. Well, it's locked. It's not going anywhere. But as soon as you start die cutting, we'll pretend like there's something in there. You see that? The suction goes away. And maybe there's something I don't know. If you know what the problem is, let me know. I mean, I've changed, because this is a desk mat. It just makes it look pretty on camera. So I've tried it on different surfaces. It still does the same thing. The suction does not hold. So you end up having, it gets kind of wonky. But yeah, even despite that, I still like it, and I'm still going to use it. You can see I've already gotten a lot of use out of this. I spent a couple of hours last night die cutting things, using scraps. Let me show you. So my last video, I showed a Tuesday morning haul, and I had bought this, and these. Some of these I already had, and I've already used. This is a die cut from, let me show you real quick, David Tutera. I don't know how to say his name, from Sizzix, but it creates these, oh my goodness, what are those called again? My brain went blank. I was calling them pinwheels earlier. I know they're not pinwheels. What are these? Oh, rosettes. Duh. Words are hard sometimes. Rosettes. So I have this big one, but I didn't use that. I don't need that big. I wanted a smaller size that I could maybe use for layouts. So anyway, I used this small one, and I made a couple of embellishments already this morning. I'll show you real quick. they're cute. So I made this one using that and some of the punches and die cuts that I'll show you in just a minute. And then I made this one. So pretty cute. I use the Bloom Street collection. Well, these are all scraps from mostly Bloom Street. There's a couple of other papers that are not Bloom Street in there, but so that I made those this morning, and I had started a tutorial and my camera kind of was wonky, so I can cut more and do a tutorial. If you're interested in that, let me know. If you are, just leave a comment. So anyway, so I used these die cuts or dies to kind of do what Reset Girl likes to call the paper punch buffet. And that's kind of what I did here. I just used a bunch of scraps that coordinated somewhat and did a lot of die cutting, but I also used punches. So I used a lot of my tools, and I'll show you real quick just a couple that I used. I used this one. This is Janet from RTS's fault that I bought this. She showed something similar to this, and I went on the hunt for it. So, but I love it. It's very useful. But I can tell my husband, Janet made me do it. Not really. Love you, Janet. So, and then I used a bunch of different circles, die cuts, or punches. I have this butterfly. See, I have a whole bunch of different styles of punches. I have this one I used, and then some little tiny ones, which were, I've had these for a long, long time. I think I got them like at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and they were pretty cheap. And I have an even smaller size of that one. And I have a small butterfly, which I have not been using these. I've had most of these for a long time. And I decided it was time to start using my tools. So I cut these, and these are a little more on the feminine side, girly girl kind of stuff. But I also have all of these, which I'm going to sort later when I do. These are more masculine, boy-themed kind of color scheme here. So I'm going to work with the feminine, more feminine. And then I will work on those here in a little while. But I want to just I'm going to show you real quick kind of my idea. Back in my junk journaling days, I used to make these, I could just call them Serendipity Borders, because all I did was use a bunch of scrap fabric to create these decorative borders, and scrap pieces of paper and tissue and just whatever I had that I really didn't want to throw out. And there's napkins, things that I didn't want to throw away. I just adhered them to a strip of paper and sewed a line down the middle. That way I could use, and I just love the texture that it gives the page. So I had the idea, well, I could do something similar to this, but with my scrap supplies. So that is the plan. So here's another one right here that is just a serendipity square using scraps that just ended up being kind of a pocket. So anyway, that's where my idea came from, and I'm going to work on that. Hopefully my camera doesn't start acting wonky again, or my phone. All right, we'll see you in just a second. Okay, you will see I have a 1 inch by 12 inch piece of cardstock that I had cut, or actually I just had these from my scraps. and I am using that as my base for my border. I want a pretty, heavy cardstock as my base because we will be gluing and sewing and adding lots of bits and pieces to this base. So we want it to have some heft, some stability. So serendipity means to an occurrence of events by chance or in a happy or beneficial way. So staying true to the name serendipity, we don't want to overthink this. So I'm just putting my pieces that I had cut with my punches and my dies, just kind of in a not really random. I want to have a pleasing composition to my eye, so I'm distributing the colors and the patterns down the strip in a kind of in a balanced way, but I'm not overthinking it. I'm just gluing stuff down that catches my eye, and I'm trying to do it in a quick manner. That way my brain is not, I don't want to get stuck. I want to just keep going. So it's very therapeutic. If you haven't ever done this, it's kind of creating kind of a collage. Don't want to spend a ton of time just sitting and thinking about it. You just want to get stuff stuck down. So I am just adding some of the punches up and down this border. I want to cover the entire white base of this one. So I'm layering things on top of it. Here I have the little flower shaped punches, and I'm just stacking them one on top of the other to give them a little dimension. I will also bend the petal pieces up as you see me doing here, just to give it a little more, like I said, dimension and presence on the border. I'm using my art glitter glue here to adhere some of the gems, just little tiny gems to give it a little bit of sparkle. Most of these pieces of pattern, they all come from my scrap bin, but I coordinated them to match colors. That way I didn't have to think so much about it. But they came from the Bloom Street collection, and I'm pretty sure there are some in here from Chamel's Never Grow Up collection. Those are the gems that I showed that I got at Tuesday Morning recently. So I'm using the things that I buy. I try not to just buy things for the sake of buying things. If I'm going to buy them, I want to make sure that I'm using those things. I took it over to my sewing machine and ran a stitch just right down the middle of it. You do not have to do this. If you don't have a sewing machine, it's okay. You don't have to stitch down the middle of it. I just like the look that it gives. And also, if you're worried about your sewing machine getting gunked up with glue and adhesive, that can happen. I've had the same Brother sewing machine for many years, and I have used it in mixed media with glue, and it's a really good machine because I haven't had problems with that. And I've run all kinds of glue and adhesive through it. So I haven't had problems with it, but just a disclaimer, people do have problems. So be careful with that if you decide you want to try sewing this with your sewing machine. So now I'm gathering some little butterflies, and I'm inking the edges of some things. So I want the butterflies to kind of pop off the page more. So, and if you haven't tried art glitter glue, I love it. It dries clear, and I haven't had any problems, and I've used it a lot with the tip clogging up. It's not a cheap adhesive, but I really like it. So far, it's my favorite adhesive for paper crafting ever. I will link it down below, so if you're interested in it, or if you've never tried it, you might like it too. So I'm adding the butterflies just in little places up and down the strip, facing different directions, and I'm popping the wings up a little bit. Now I'm using some stickles in diamond just to put a little stripe down the center of the butterflies, but also to create just some little dots of stickles around the page, not page, but down the strip to give it some sparkle and shimmer. And here I'm just showing you a quick close-up of the completed Serendipity border strip. Now I'm going to start another one. I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to use, I want this thread to go up and down the entire length of the border. I'm going to kind of go for a little bit messier, mixed media style border strip here. Look at my little hands just go. I wish I was that fast in real life. Wouldn't that be nice? Get so much work done so fast. And then I start to adhere these leaves, and this time I'm not worried about covering up all the white space of the border strip or the base. I think by the end I end up covering it all up, but I don't mind if a little bit of it shows this time. So again, I'm just trying to not overthink it, but I do want, a little bit of color balance going on. So I have the pink in 3 places. I have the green in 3 or 4 places. And I want a contrast between light and dark. That's why I like adding the white pieces. I feel like it gives it a pretty good contrast between the lighter colors and the darker colors. And off camera, I went ahead and, because I didn't feel like you needed to watch me stack the flowers and the butterflies and glue them together repeatedly. So off camera, I went ahead and did that and created my butterflies and put the jewels and everything on it. Here I'm thinking about using these white butterflies and doing a little mixed media on them, but I scratched that idea. Pretty much. I did off camera, you didn't see this, where I did sprinkle the border strip with some inks just to give it some splatters. So here are the butterflies that I created off camera, and I stacked 2 butterflies on top of one another, and I'm gluing the bottom part down, but I'm lifting the wings of the top butterfly up. And I also added some gems up and down each butterfly. And I also created these flowers. And these flowers, instead of just stacking 2 flowers together, I actually stacked like 3 or 4 of them together to give a fuller, a more full flower. Again, I'm just distributing those up and down the border strip, just wherever my eye thinks one needs to go, or I need to fill a spot that maybe looks empty. If you haven't tried this, you really should. This is so relaxing. Probably the hardest part of this whole process was punching all of the pieces out. And that wasn't hard. That is kind of mindless. You can just do it while you're watching TV or listening to music or whatever, watching YouTube videos. You just can have a little punch party. I would recommend when you're punching to kind of separate by color. That way it's easier, because I kind of at first just threw all of mine in a basket. So try to keep yourself a little bit organized and sort by color before you start this process, because I spent a lot of time like digging through stuff, and then I ended up going ahead and sorting them as an afterthought, but don't be like me. Here I'm just adhering some of these sequins around to give a little sparkle. And after I finish this, I'm not going to do a layout process, but I do want to show you how to use these on a page. I feel like this video would have been 3 hours long if I would have done this tutorial and then also tried to do layout tutorials. So I'm just going to show you. Here I'm showing you the finished product of each border strip that I completed. And here is the layout that I finished. So you can see I put that first border strip that I did across the middle of the page and tucked some photos in the top. And I love how this turned out. And it came together so fast. And then here's another example. I used the border strip. I placed it vertically on this layout and just added some scraps and a couple of die cuts from the Bloom Street collection, and voila, I was done. These layouts came together very fast. I hope I was able to give you some ideas and inspiration on how to use your scraps by making these serendipity borders. They are so fun and therapeutic. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.